Okay, so Inside Job Season 2 just dropped and my heart hurts. I remember watching Season 1 and thinking that this was a really good foundation for a fantastic show with the potential for some big jaw-dropping moments once the characters started to develop. And I will admit that Inside Job Season 2 did not hold back on this prediction. This season really played on an emotional note that the first season didn't quite have, and I won't lie, a few tears were spilled on the last episode. And today that's what I would like to talk about, as well as a couple of predictions for the seasons to come. And of course, if you have any thoughts or opinions about the video, please do leave them in the comments below because I absolutely love reading your opinions, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content. Anyway, with that said, let's get into this. Alright, firstly, I do want to admit that I did originally finish Season 1 when it first came out, and I started writing a script for a video, but it never came to life. So to give you a quick idea of what I thought of the first season, let me do a speed run. I really do like the concept of conspiracy theories being real and gain a glimpse into what the behind the scenes of the deep state could look like. I thought that the show had a potential for some great comedy, and I really do think they delivered on the jokes. Another thing that I was really pleased about is that we actually got to see character development and vulnerability. Whenever a new adult cartoon comes out, there is of course always this fear that it will be another Family Guy style of show filled with flashbacks, reoccurring gags, and in which the lessons from the day before mean nothing. But it was great to see that Reagan, as well as all of these other characters, have faults, and that these were things that were going to be touched on and we were going to watch them learn and grow. I also really love the dynamic in between Brett and Reagan and the way that their relationship started to grow. A couple of the negative points that I did have was that the dialogue at times did feel a little forced, and this would sometimes make the heartfelt conclusion moment of an episode feel rushed and slightly out of place. An example of this would have been the 80s episode, and I'm not going to go much into it, but I thought this episode started off great and the references to the movies were super fun. But from the moment Brett gets poisoned, everything just kinda drops off. The delivery of Reagan's heartfelt speech falls a bit flat because I'm left wondering how a cynical Reagan managed to have such a big change of heart so quickly. Other than that, I did really enjoy the first season and was excited when I saw that Season 2 had come out. So now, shall we get into that? Alright, so here are some overall thoughts of Season 2. Something I did really enjoy was the callback to the first scene of the show, but this time it's Reagan who's at the gates of the White House, and it's Brett who comes to get her. This just made me chuckle. I thought the storylines and the jokes were fun, but I think a massive positive for this season is that it felt like it had a lot less underwhelming conclusions and dialogue. I mean, the moment where we find Rand pressing the button over and over again, muttering to himself, just trying to find a timeline in which he and his family were reunited and happy, got me right in the gut. It felt truly meaningful, especially considering we assume that he has been fired, and due to his nature, the natural instinct would be to think that if he loses it all, everyone else should too. But to arrive and think there's going to be a massive battle and actually see him be so vulnerable was truly something else. And after such a big build up, I thought it was really, really effective. I think the overarching storyline of whether or not Reagan is going to leave her job is really interesting, and of course the cliffhanger leaves you wondering what's happening next season, but we'll talk more about that later. Now, of course, one of the main storylines of this season was Ron and Reagan's relationship, and I absolutely loved watching their development. Seeing Reagan in that light, after all of the internal progression that she made last season, was really wholesome. Although I wish that there would have been a little more play on the stakes of them being together, as at the beginning they made it seem like it was a really big deal, and was kind of just brushed off to nothing. But mainly, what I wish we could have seen more of is Ron himself, and get to know him a little bit more. I think as the season goes on, he becomes less of a standalone character and more just like Reagan's boyfriend. And even though they do have some really strong chemistry right from the start, there was always something lingering in my mind that Ron was actually trying to play Reagan, and him being in a relationship with her was actually a plan from the Illuminati. Up until the final moments, I was truly rooting for their relationship, but I was also super cautious of fully trusting him. The thing is, with him coming in so strong as this equally strong and smart opponent, to the fact that he does turn out to be a good guy who just wanted to leave it all behind and be with Reagan, did come as a shock. And I'm not sure if this was intentional from the creators or not, but it definitely did make the impact of this scene very gut-wrenching. I do think it's just such a shame we didn't get to see more of his personal development to see why he wants to leave so badly, and I would also just love to have more reason to trust him from the start. Alright, should we talk about that final choice? I think the way the build-up happened for Reagan's final decision was really well executed. Firstly, from her dad taking her promotion at the end of the first season gives her reason to hate her job, as all the hard work that she has done is just overshadowed by her dad's return. Then watching her grow and seeing her relationship develop, and her being in a position where she might actually leave this line of work with Ron is super intriguing. At some points, I do really think it was hard to distinguish whether or not she was going to decide to stay, whether she was going to leave and, I don't know, maybe return in a future season, or even if this was going to be the final season and Reagan's story ends here. The moment where she's going through all of these universes trying to find a timeline in which the relationship could work even with the job is so sad, because even though we can't see it, we can just imagine that this is just one of those stories that is doomed to not work out. There's just something so heartbreaking about one person going on with their life not knowing that anything had happened, and the other person having to continue with all the pain and memories in order to help the other person. And of course it hurts even more when at the end of this we see that this choice was probably for nothing, considering the robes seem to be plotting against Reagan and maybe even leading her to her doom. Now, of course, we're left on that massive cliffhanger, and I'm really intrigued to see what the robes are planning on doing. I think the next season may be this massive turn of the show where shit really starts to get real. It leaves me wondering, will this be the final season? Is the deep state gonna get overruled? Or will Reagan expose the deep state? Also, I can't help but wonder if that wasn't the last we were actually going to see of Ron. Of course, I may be wrong, but something makes me feel like he will start to remember certain things, and he may even come back in order to help Reagan and the company take on the higher-ups and perhaps rebuild a new corporation altogether. If he was to remember things, how dangerous would it be for him? I guess we won't know until the next seasons, but I can say that I am really excited to see what will come of this show, because I do truly believe that this show has the potential of becoming a masterpiece. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed. Of course, there's a lot that I have not addressed in this video, but if there are any videos that you would like to see from me, or talking about other subjects or topics of this show, leave it as a comment and I'll get onto that as soon as possible. Of course, as always, thank you so much for the support on the previous videos. It just truly means the world, and I cannot thank you all enough. Here's to uploading more content, and I will see you sometime soon. Thank you again for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed. Anyway, thank you, goodbye.